Hi everyone, this is Tanya the Lady Strange. Welcome to my patio and backyard. Another beautiful fallish day here in central New York State. So I'm blessed to be able to use this without being bit up by mosquitoes. So big win. Mosquitoes are awful, but being a diabetic, I seem to attract them tenfold. Yeah, life. But yeah, so, without further ado, this is the weekly collective reading. For those that this may feel that resonates with, applies with, or who's been here with me through some of my readings throughout the past. I'm certainly part of the collective too. But again, it's a general reading, an energetic reading, not predictive, but energetic to help us through the day-to-day life experiences, interactions, the ever-changing, challenging world. And to have an effective, empowered week and what we can use to integrate. Things may change, but this is an energetic forecast, and this is actually brought to you on the day of eclipse. This is eclipse month. There is 2 eclipses, one being today for the blood red moon in Pisces. High energy. Some people do not work, or many practitioners, witches, or spiritualists, or anyone connected to that, pagans, do not generally work with eclipses as they find that the energy is very changing, mutable, and not fixed, and not good to set something forth with. I, as always, am strange and different, and my uniqueness, I love eclipses, not just for the natural, beautiful, connected aspects of the moon and the energies of the planets, but I work high magic on those days. It's been effective for me since I've been doing it and working those aspects for the most part in a decade and a half. I don't always work with them, but many times I do, and when I have the opportunity and option energy to do so, it's worked for me, and it's been leveling up. It's been ascendant, high magic, and I like to pull from the liminal, the ether. But again, it's what works for each of us. What works for me, it certainly won't work for you, and what works for you certainly won't work for me. That's what makes our paths, our magic, our lives themselves, even if we're not practitioners like myself. I am, but even if you're not, but you must be into something if you're watching this type of video or been here with me. So yes, so harness the energies, bring out the closures, use it as a reflection if need be, and bring closures to different chapters or aspects in our lives. That's also what eclipses are for, to bring about endings, closures to that, enlightenment maybe, and to let go of what no longer works, what you realize not, or to pay reflection to that so that you can be open to new spaces and energies. Me, I'm going to use it to create. Manifest is a good word. I do use it often, but create. Like Blackcraft Cult says, one of my favorite clothing lines, should I say, is create your own future. And I use those energies and harness those to create my foreseeable future and overall future for my future self, to be a better version of myself and for my life and others to have that. That's the best we can do, is to continue to grow and evolve each day. And it's also part of the energy. So before I cast again, I kind of got the vibe of this week's crystal, but I went in and still casted like I did the previous 2 weeks. And the message and hints been there since yesterday, and we'll see, and it came out. There's going to be a picture of the crystal, my casting stones that I currently have, as that constantly changes, but that is going to be on the post tab here on YouTube, and pictures will be as they are of my cards that come up on my Instagram, Little Mascaro 79. So check out either of those spaces if you're interested, and watch this reading and see the written of how the written comes out is channeled. This is more of a channeled. I'm connected with my spirits, my intuition, the magic in the air in this place, should I say, and of fall and the liminal and the change and the space of the moon, and my own magic. Every day is magic and ritual and mundane for me. Every day spooky and strange day. So the crystal, like I just mentioned, that came up and is going to be has a message for this collective, but it also could be a aid, a guide, an energetic resonance, a tool if need be. If you have it in your practice, or you can just embody these energies and qualities, and the message therefore of it is going to be carnelian. Now, this is, I've shown this one before, as probably, I don't know, a couple weeks, couple months ago when carnelian came up. This is probably my favorite. However, I don't actually work with this as much because it is claimed by one of the my main spirits that I work with, one of my companions, and he whom I work with. However, since he is so generous and understanding and willing to allow me to use it, I will be working with this beautiful carnelian this week. Typically it resides in his spirit lamp or lantern, so to say. So carnelian's message this week is this beautiful, amazing, powerful carnelian, which goes with kind of, if you look at the shape and size of the blood moon. Maybe that is also perhaps why I was attracted to this, or what I just said in this opening here. This blood moon is going to bring about a lot of change and a lot of fire and will. So as depending on what part of the world you're in, if you're in the US like myself, in the northern hemisphere, or a spot where, as I mentioned, fall is coming into play, and therefore a long winter. Tanya hates winter. Yes, I do not like any aspect of it, but hey, that's my truth and my experience. Some people enjoy it, to each their own. And that's what the carnelian says. The carnelian is about fire and will, and taking those little and big steps each and every day. What motivations do you have, and what intentions, and what can you let go and bring closure of, if that's how you work with the eclipse or feel the energy, to bring into the darker months as we're approaching the fall equinox, the marker of the seasons very soon, or the different changes in your life, no matter what age you might be or how you identify in this life. I'm up for some major challenges very soon, and more answers and guidance. But yes, carnelian also, besides having us embrace our fire and our will and our strength and courage and resilience, it does have a grounding aspect to it. She has a very truthful, a way of connecting. So you're going to use this, the message of this week is to use the fire within, the small and big action steps that you can take into and bring in from this blood moon eclipse, of what you're closing out and bringing in, what you're bringing into balance. What can you do to bring your intentions to life and to build a foundation for the upcoming darker months, the change of seasons, or the changes and challenges that you've already been facing or will continue to face in this ever-changing, challenging life. Carnelian, besides being a very fire stone, of having fire of will and strength and power and helping you to connect with it, it's also very connected to the root chakra. So use it to be grounded. So marry in that fire into grounded without overacting or overreacting, but a grounded, steady action steps, will, and plans, and using what you can close out and what you can bring in, and marrying and the aspects of nature's magic into the mundane, and what you can create into your own mundane and build your future saints. So fire, will, strength, and resilience, inner resilience, and being grounded at the same time. That's the message carnelian brings. That's what you can use this week to your advantage and to your situation, to what this week may bring, no matter what may bring, the energies or the crystal, or both if you like myself. And this week, my videos are rather rambly, but if you like to watch this, that's fine. These are also for myself, as I'm part of the collective. Again, so the deck stepping forth this week is the Lacrimosa Tarot by Rose Bay Tarot. This tarot I felt because there's so much black and negative space into it, kind of reminds me of the liminal of the eclipse. It is a religious, iconic artwork of found art and collage, but it has a very evocative voice. Even if you experience religious trauma or indoctrination, much like if you are a witch and practitioner myself or a spiritualist, or being different, strange, and such, or you're just your own unique path and self and don't quite fit in. Who wants to fit in? Yeah, I don't. Most of us, I'm sure if you're watching this, you're unique as myself, and that's great. Embrace your individuality. But this deck is, despite the aspects of the religious iconography, I do relate to it. It's beautiful, and I love the colors. And some of the deities I work with, such as Hades himself, loves to speak through this. But that's the deck stepping forth this week. A beautiful indie deck, but you can get it, I believe, on my playing cards still. Not too bad. And speaking of Rose Bay, I got this one not long right after it came out, and I've been working with it pretty much for a daily draw myself. She wanted to step forth to go with the energies of the liminal. This is by Rose Bay. It's an indie deck. This one's much more of quite a bit more of an investment. However, this is These Blue Bones Oracle. It doesn't have a guidebook, but it has amazing words and vocabulary on it, and the images, and it's very evocative and wistful, much like the Moon card. So that's why I pulled this out. It reminds me of what's in the subconscious. And with me, it does bring up, with my readings, my draws, my tarot clarifiers for myself, and my magic. This is a piece of my soul. This is going to be one of, much like the 100 Mana Oracle, which is no surprise, this is going to be stepping forth. This is one of them. She really, you either love this deck or you hate it. But it's beautiful in so many ways, and I would still get another version of it on that. So I affectionately call these blue bones Moody Balloons. Moody Balloons. There's my bloopers already. Moody Blues. Like the band that did, because she's very moody, much like myself, but wistful and interesting, and connected. So I call that because the band that did Nights on White Satin. It has that feel of that song and Moody Blues. And this video's going to be long, so if you're staying with me, thank you. And my video, my channel, it reaches who likes to reach us stuff. And the Haunted Manor Oracle, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you will know this is an indie out of print deck. She is one of my top favorite Oracle decks of all time. She is my black and red. Again, two of my favorite colors. She is beautiful in every aspect. She works with everything, and she is everything. So let's put it that way. That's a beautiful deck by Syrian Shadows. So, without further ado, let's see. Today, sometimes it goes in different orders. Today, my guides and what it has for the collective is going to be the Lacrimosa. The tarot is going to step up forth. Sometimes it's the oracles. Follow the intuition. Follow your guide, and most of all, discern for what works. That's also a message for this week, but for any other week or any time period for us as humans. What does this collective need to know, and the energies that will affect this collective and whomever this may resonate with or apply, and what can be utilized to have an effective, empowered week and an effective, empowered eclipse, because eclipses can often have very challenging things, especially when it's in Pisces and it brings up the different reflections, emotions, and that moon card energy of the subconscious. Pisces are very, very, like the Moody Blues deck has a lot of emotions, a lot of reflection, very sensitive. but very raw, but very magical, and their own voices and their own energies and presence, as does this moon and as does this eclipse. Not any moon phase or many moon or eclipses are ever the same. This place and every day is not the same. So this collective, what do we need to know? Pulling 3 isn't being told. Oh, that's a great card to start off with for this week's energy. 10 of Hearts. What's hearts in this deck is Cups. So cups are emotions, perceptions, but Marianne, to my aspect of a perspective of your perceptions, and fullness, the energy of emotions and relationships, creation, the inner world, the subconscious like the moon. But this is a great card and a great starter. 10 of Cups. 10s are something that can continuously, it's towards the end of the tarot before we meet the court cards, of course, of each suit meeting, but it's infinite. You can multiply by 10. It is fullness and fruition, much like the World card and the wheel, full circle. So that's a great starting message. Okay. Where do we have me go here? 2 from bottom? Okay. No surprise, and I'll tell you why in a second. Let's see, I'm going to set her over here so she doesn't get ruined. Okay, next we got 4 of Coins, which is Pentacles or Disc, depending on the other decks you may be familiar with. And this is basically the coins, which is the earthly things, the material things, the tangible things, like our homes, our money, our finances, our jobs and careers, our base knowledge and resources. This card, the reason I mentioned that when I pulled it up, it fell out when I was getting the deck out to shuffle it before we did the reading, or before I did the reading. So, yeah, pointed message, it did apply. No surprise, that's often how it works. That's how magic works. That's how relativity and connectedness works. So the 4 of Pentacles is earthly, that's what's tangible and what you can see. Now that also brings into the aspect of the 4 is kind of about, to me, is about balancing. The 4 of Coins traditionally in like the RWS system is you see him with one here and then balance, sometimes holding too much. This is about the concept of learning what you can control and what you can't control, what you need to let go and what you can hold on to and use, and what you can bring into balance in your material and day-to-day life, no matter how much you do have of abundance, how little, and most of us in between, and what we have to juggle and realign. That's about realigning in the material and in our efforts and what we're creating and our human day-to-day experiences with that 10 of Hearts that brings fullness, abundance for our relationships and our experiences and what fills our hearts and souls. That's primarily what this is what fills us up and what brings us forward and within, and therefore trickles to the aspects of our life. That's the message of this week. And the other is another Earth card, Queen of Coins. The Queen of Coins is Queen of Pentacles or Queen of Discs, another earth-based card, as I said. She is one who is very practical. She's resourceful, she's very intelligent. She obtained her knowledge and wisdom through experience and creation. Things that she has had to learn the hard way, the efforts. This collective, this really represents this collective as you're very hardworking. You've learned a lot through trial and error, as they say. being baptized by fire from the beginning. You've learned to use your resources and maybe what it has and hasn't worked for you. And what has really worked for you, you've acknowledged. This the Queen of Pentacles is also about looking back to what you have done in your experiences in your life. With the full moons, of course, as anything, they're very illuminating, just like the moon card from the tarot, as I said. The moon's a big theme, obviously. The full moons and the eclipses usually affect 3 days before, 3 days after, so half the week. So, yes. And I feel this moon is foundational, this eclipse, meaning it's going to bring a lot into the foreseeable future. So that's why it's very mindful to feel the energies and pay attention and listen to your gut intuition and your guidance. Even if it doesn't make sense, it will make sense, trust me. And that's what she does. She sees the past and what she's done and the hard work and the efforts and recognizes that and what works and hasn't, but she stands in her authority. She neither sits there, and you do not need to sit there and overanalyze. You do not need to bring more discernment in, as you've done a lot of that recently in the past several weeks, several months, and possibly several years. A lot of discernment, much like the Queen of Swords. Much more, she is just you're much more grounded and practical in what you need to do in this experience in a healthy, effective, empowered way, and how it affects your reality and your day-to-day. That's what this week is. Knowing that. Knowing what balance you have, what you can do, what is healthy, using fire and will, and honoring yourself, the relationship you have with yourself and your emotions, and therefore those in your life that matters, the circumstances, the energies, the abundance you have, the changes. Bring in a nice, healthy balance of emotions and the energetic efforts and will and strengths. They all go in tandem this week. Not overthinking. There's no swords and analysis needed. It's more of a willingful knowingness, which is great. A certainty, as they say. And let's see. Which one am I doing next? These blue bones? Okay. Let's pull from here. That's what I'm being guided to next. I listen to my intuition, my magic, and the powers that be, the spirits and deities that I work with and walk. But I do the discernment. What does this collective need to know in conjunction with the energies of having a great, fulfilling week, great, fulfilling experiences and perceptions, and knowing themselves, their relationships, honoring their experiences through the illumination, and being certain, but bringing into balance into the day-to-day material, tangible things, and just using what they've learned and what they have, and knowing that they are reliable for themselves and what they have, and being reliable for what matters in their life. And she tossed one out. That's what these blue bones does, or moody blues. She's very much, generally when she has a message, she has a message. Okay. So we got this one. I did pull this out a couple weeks ago. I did do this on here. The monster you feed. So the monster you feed. Now this is going to be, the message that is being pointedly said is the monster you feed. So these are the things that you are either being fed to you from outside experiences, or what you see, like the news, what others tell you, others have told you about yourself, what you take in. What monsters are not necessarily a bad thing if you like scary movies like myself, but the monster you feed, it can be about addiction, negative self-talk, behaviors, overeating, overcompensating, the way you treat yourself, the way you feel about yourself, holding on to what you don't need. You don't need to overeat, overreact, consumption. Be mindful of what your consumption is this week. And I'm not talking just the eating or drinking. I'm talking about what you're reading, what you're watching on YouTube, what you're watching on the news, what others tell you that you're taking in. Do not feed, do not feed into things into yourself that do not serve you or where you're looking to go. Be mindful of addictive behaviors and things that don't work for you. Things can be internally, things can be very challenging with the eclipse energies and just being a human ourselves, but be mindful of what you're consuming, whether it's energetically, what you're seeing, you're hearing, you're reading, and what others tell you and what you're taking into yourself. And let's see, final message that ties in. It's going to be a great week. It's just, those are something we all have every day to deal with, our inner monsters, or our inner demons. But to befriend them and be mindful of them versus to our disadvantage. Let's say that. That's also where the carnelian combination comes in. And 100 Manor Oracle. What's our closing message and advice to wrap up this long message? And that this collective, whom this applies to, can have an effective, empowered week, and with the energies that may present themselves in finding fulfillment, happiness, interconnectedness, a sense of balance, and using that emotions to bring in, and that fulfillment to bring in more material and tangible results of validity, of self-validity, and knowing they've taken the right steps from the past as they've learned from them, and they continue to move forward, as we all continue to move forward. Yet another day and another week in the making. Hey, this one's appropriate. She's going to just give me one too. So play the cards that are, so basically it's cards. Play the hand, play the hand that you, that's dealt. Or play the cards that you're dealt, like I just said. So play the hand you're dealt. So like those two pentacles that came up and that queen of coins, use your resources. Yes, you may have not been dealt the best cards. I know I have not. And I'm going to be continuously working through them as I have each and every day. Some days are much harder than others and experiences, but still work through those impairments or chronic illnesses or other things for others you have to take care of. Use those things to your advantage. So it's a challenge and it's hard, but take away from it what you can and use it and transmute it. The good things you're dealt, the blessings, the abundance, the great people you have in your life, the fact that you are watching this, the fact that you have the ability to do so, the ability that you have a home, you have enough food on your table, or at least enough to pay your bills and get by, and using your resources, the wisdom you've attained through your experiences, like that Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Coins that she does. And using that to an effective thing. So work with what you're dealt. Use it to your advantage. Keep a poker face on. Never give away everything to the whole world or to others. Keep some for yourself. Like, hold that to you too. But play what you're dealt to get a winning hand. And that 10 of Cups energy. And with that being said, thanks for watching this. And if you do find any relevance or resonate with this message or any of my previous videos, please like, comment, and subscribe, as it's greatly appreciated. And stay strange.